All right, we are back. I just mixed the oils for the soap frosting and warmed them up. And I mixed the lye water concoction. Now, usually I would wait for the oils and lye water to get to room temperature before I add the lye waters to my oils because I want to keep them from accelerating trace too quickly to keep the oils and the soap batter more liquid so that I can control the swirl in it more easily. But since I am making a frosting and I want this soap to accelerate to trace quickly, I went ahead at 130 degrees and added my lye water strainer, strained it, added my lye water straight into those oils at about 130 degrees because you're going to notice that they're going to accelerate to trace very quickly. If they were room temperature, I would have had to stick blend this for quite a few minutes to get them to accelerate to trace to a very thick pudding that you need to be able to pipe them on the soap. So I'm going to pipe this like it's frosting using a frosting tip on the top of those loaf of soaps that I made earlier today. So this has already thickened up very quickly, and I'm just pouring a little bit off for the leaves. I'm going to mix this part is the sea glass colorant. I usually use a white colorant for the frosting, but I am out of white colorant, and I did not like the way the yellow color morphed in the soap that I made, so I decided to go with the sea glass, and I don't usually do a darker color, like I said, for the frosting. But we're going with it. We're going to see how it turns out. And I'm going to mix this up really good, and then I'm going to mix Let Us Entertain You mica from Mad Micas into the little bit of batter I poured off on this side. And now I did that to add leaves to the flowers that I have on this soap. So I will add the Mad Micas Let Us Entertain You to it and mix it up, and then I will put it in a piping bag with the leaf tip on it and set it aside for later. Now this Let Us Entertain You mica actually color morphed into a very disturbing green. One thing you have to remember with micas in soap batter is a lot of times they will color morph into a completely different color. And when you go to cut them the next day, they will change back into the color that you intended them to be. So don't freak out. Sometimes, not all the time, it will change back into the original color. So now I am adding that sea glass into the piping bag, and we are going to pipe that on top of the soap loaf. The key to this, you guys, is not only practice, but getting the right consistency with your soap. So it needs to be soft enough to where it's not going to be too stiff to let go when you want it to release from the piping, from the tip onto the soap. But it has to be hard enough to where it's going to keep its shape. So here I am piping for 10 soaps. I need to put the little 1-inch marks on my mold, on my soap loaf mold. So I'm guessing on the space of it, which is why I have a single loaf, a single cut soap cutter. I used to have a soap cutter that would cut 10 bars at a time, but in order to do that, like professionals like Katie from Royalty Soaps does, you have to have all of your soaps perfectly spread out to have 10 individual 1-inch soaps. And if you're off at all in your measurement, you will end up cutting the little tiny soap on top, the embed. You'll end up cutting that, and you don't want to do that. So I cut my soaps individually so that I don't cut the top embeds off. That first soap loaf was kind of short. The top was kind of short, so I'm hoping that I have enough extra left over after I do this soap mold to go back in and add some height to that other one. But I got this one spaced out perfect for 10 soaps, 10 dollops, perfectly spaced out on top there. This takes practice, you guys. My first soap did not turn out perfect. And this soap will not turn out perfect either, but it will be pretty. And so now I'm just adding more to that piping bag, scraping out the rest of that soap, and we're gonna finish topping off this soap batch here. And crossing our fingers, we have enough to add height to that other loaf. So I used to have a problem with making the dollop so big that the top of the soap's frosting would be huge. So sometimes I overcompensate and make them too small, too short. The top's too short, and that's what I did with the first loaf. The second loaf is turning out to be perfect, and it looks like I'm going to have some extra to be able to go back and add height to the first soap that I did. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm adding just a little bit of height here. And I'm not gonna be able to get the whole entire soap, but pretty much all but the last two soaps, I'm going to be able to add some height to it. So I'm happy with that. That makes me happy. And now I'm just moving some stuff out of the way, and I will spritz these with some alcohol. Spritzing these with alcohol, you guys, makes it so that you don't get, I can't think of what they call it. Here I am adding some glitter to the top of this before I add the soap embeds to the top, because I don't want glitter all over the soap embeds. So if you don't spritz the top of your soaps with alcohol and cover them for at least 24 hours, you will get this white coat on the top of your soaps. It's called ash on the top of your soaps. And by spritzing alcohol on the top of your soaps and covering them, you can stop from the soda ash, that ash getting on top of it. So now I am just picking out the big flowers for the top of this soap. I can't lay them flat, because if I do, then I will have to cut these soaps very thick and there wouldn't be 10. So I have to stand them up a little bit. I am a little worried about them breaking off, but if that happens, then I can go back and glue with melt and pour them back on the top. So we're hoping that doesn't happen, but if a couple of them do fall out, there is a way to fix it. So after I get the big flowers put on the middle. I'm going to pick out a butterfly for each side of the soap and a small flower for each side of the soap. So I'm going to put one on each side for 10 soaps. And if you notice, I'm using more of the pink and yellow of these embeds because the sea glass color just blends in with the frosting. So I'm using less of the sea glass color and just more of the pinks and yellow because they pop. When I made the embeds, I did not realize I was out of white to make the frosting white, which is why I made sea glass embeds too. But since I use the sea glass for the frosting, I really don't want to use too many of the sea glass embeds. Like I said, they just kind of blend in. And I'm not going to record doing both of these loaves, just one. And look how beautiful that turned out, how pretty that is. All done. It looks beautiful. So I will come back in about 40 hours since I have plans tomorrow, but I will be back in about 40 hours and we will cut this soap and see how it turns out. Okay, so both of them are all decorated now and they both turned out amazing. I love the little butterflies on the side and everything turned out great. And this is where I let the color morph get in my head. I went to pipe on the little leaves and I just did not like the way it looked. And so I decided not to add any leaves to this soap and just leave them. I decided less is best for this one. So I will be back in 40 hours to cut the soap.